You stand upon a precipice, the oldest horizon of your being. This moment, this now, is the silent edge where all things that have ever appeared to you and all things yet to appear originate. The air is electric with possibility, not because something outside you is about to happen, but because the truth of your nature is pressing forward to announce itself. Listen. Beneath the restless surface of seeking, beneath the habitual urge to chase or to prove, there is a silent, radiant fullness. You are not standing at the edge of your life waiting for the world to give you permission to begin. You are the creative principle itself, the I am, in perpetual expression. This is not a promise to be attained. It is a fact to be recognized. The law of assumption, as it has always operated, is the law of your being. It is not a tool you pick up. It is the very atmosphere of your consciousness. Before you open your eyes to the world, before you move a muscle, the deep inner assumption of your identity is already shaping the outer landscape. A man may believe he is striving, but he is only ever radiating from the center of his being. You do not become by effort. You reveal by assumption. The world is not a wall to be climbed, but a mirror to be illumined. Consider the one who lives in the end. She does not beg the seed to flower. She stands in the fragrance. He does not seek evidence. He wears the crown in secret. The world rearranges itself not for those who strive, but for those who have inwardly received. When you assume a state and persist in it, when you are the thing desired, not as a performance, but as a silent knowing, the world responds with the echo of your inner song. You are not waiting for proof. You are the proof. You are not seeking. You are radiating. You are not lacking. You are full. You are not doubting. You are faith embodied. All that is required is a shift, a turn in consciousness. This shift is not effortful. It is a softening, a surrender of the chase. It is the gentle but absolute acceptance that your inner stance is the cause, the only cause, and that the outer is the effect, the inevitable effect. This is the difference between chasing and attracting, between reaction and stance, between performance and embodiment. The one who chases is forever outside the gate. The one who stands as the thing desired has no gate to pass through. The law is always working. You are always assuming. The only question is, are you assuming deliberately, or are you swept along by the winds of appearance? Feel now in the silence where the world has not yet imposed its forms the fullness of your being. Let the words rise from the deep well of I am. There is nothing to do. There is only something to be. To dwell in the end is to dwell in the finished work, to live as though the wish were already fulfilled, because in consciousness it is. Before the world can reflect your desire, you must become its living embodiment. How do you embody? By allowing the feeling of the wish fulfilled to take root, to saturate your being, to become the very atmosphere you breathe. You do not force the flower to bloom. You be the spring. You do not chase the sun. You become the light. This is not self-deception. It is the one great law. You are always assuming. You are always becoming. The only difference is the direction, conscious or unconscious. Will you be the deliberate shaper of your world, or the passive reactor to its shadows? The power is not in effort, but in identity. It is not in striving, but in being. It is not in chasing, but in radiating. Let this truth settle. Let it awaken the sleeping certainty within you. You are the I am, and all things are drawn to you according to the state you dare to assume. Now let us witness what occurs within consciousness at the verge of breakthrough. There is often a trembling, an inner quickening, as if something vast and ancient is about to remember itself through you. It is not an external sign, but an inward resonance, a deepening of faith that precedes all evidence. The world remains unchanged for an instant, but within, the axis of your identity has shifted. Where there was once seeking, now there is radiating. Where there was once lack, now there is fullness. This is the moment of true transformation, not in the event, but in the assumption. You do not gather proof to believe. You believe, and proof gathers itself around you. It is not the outer that leads the inner, but always the inner that leads the outer. Who are you when you close your eyes to the world and dwell in the secret place? Are you the one who has, or the one who hopes to have? Are you the one who is, or the one who longs to become? The law does not wait for your readiness. It acts on your dominant assumption, whether you are conscious of it or not. The question is never, will this work? The question is, what am I assuming now? Imagine a man who for years assumed himself to be overlooked and unwanted. His days were filled with evidence to match. Every interaction, every silence, every missed opportunity seemed to confirm his belief. Yet in a moment of deep surrender, he chose to assume the opposite. He began to feel, not as a rehearsal, but as a fact, that he was the beloved, the chosen, the center of favor. He did not chase after affection. He radiated worthiness. Gradually, the world, like iron shavings to a magnet, rearranged itself. Invitations appeared, friendships deepened, opportunities multiplied. The law did not change. His assumption did. His identity preceded the evidence. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the cause clothed in flesh. The outer is only a shadow cast by the inner light. When you persist in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you dwell in the end, the world must yield. It is not magic, but law. It is not striving, but being. To feel the wish fulfilled is to step into the only creative power there is, the I am that you are. You do not need to manipulate events. You need only to assume your true identity. The inner mechanics are subtle yet absolute. When you shift your assumption, your perception alters. The inner dialogue softens. Where once you rehearsed limitation, now you rehearse fulfillment. The reaction to old triggers dissolves, replaced by calm certainty. Outer events, once stubborn, begin to align themselves with your sustained state. Identity always precedes evidence. The world is your echo. It cannot help but reflect what you are being. You do not wait for proof. You know, and the knowing is the proof. Consider the parable of the prodigal son. He wandered far, seeking fulfillment in the world, only to find lack and disappointment. Yet the moment he assumed himself to be the beloved son, the feast was prepared. The outer circumstances bent to the inner recognition. It is always so. The feast is not prepared for the one who begs, but for the one who remembers his inheritance. You are not a seeker at the gate. You are the heir within the house. The law is not moved by effort, but by assumption. Be, and you shall have. Let us linger in the silent mechanics of assumption. The law of assumption is not a philosophy to be pondered, but a law to be proven. You test it not by effort, but by being. You do not ask, how long must I wait? You declare, it is done. The assumption, when sustained, becomes reality. The outer world is clay in the hands of your inner state. Circumstances are not fixed. They are malleable, responsive, obedient to the dominant tone of your being. When you dwell in the end, you are not performing for the world's approval. You are living in the radiance of your own fulfillment. The one who is full does not beg for crumbs. The one who is whole does not seek completion. It is not seeking, but radiating. Not lack, but fullness. You do not chase after what you are. You attract what you assume. The world cannot resist the pull of your sustained identity. It must conform. It must echo. It must rearrange itself around your stance. This is not theory. It is law. I have seen the fearful become courageous, the overlooked become celebrated, the poor become prosperous, not by force, but by assumption. One woman, beset by years of scarcity, ceased to plead for abundance and began to assume herself as already wealthy in spirit. She walked, spoke, and lived as one who could not lack. The world, at first slow to respond, eventually yielded. Opportunities appeared, doors opened, finances blossomed. The law had not changed. She had assumed a new state, and the world was compelled to mirror it. You are not the victim of delay. You are the author of time. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, the clock is set. The interval between assumption and manifestation is not a test of worthiness, but a measure of persistence. Do you remain in the end, or do you waver at the appearance of contradiction? The outer may resist, but the inner, when sustained, always prevails. It is not striving, but being. Not chasing, but attracting. Not reaction, but stance. Let your inner dialogue be the affirmation of your fulfilled desire. Let every thought, every feeling, every word be the fragrance of your assumption. You do not rehearse lack. You rehearse fullness. You do not anticipate disappointment. you anticipate fulfillment. The world is not your adversary, it is your obedient servant. It brings to you with mathematical certainty the contents of your sustained assumption. In the silence of the morning before the world has spoken, declare within yourself, I am. I am that which I desire to be. I am the fullness, the fulfillment, the finished work. There is nothing to seek, only something to embody. The law is always working. The only question is, what am I assuming now? Let your assumption be deliberate. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Now let us turn our attention to the art of revision. Revision is not merely correcting the past. It is reclaiming your creative authority. The past, as you remember it, is only a record of assumption. When you revise, you do not change history. You change its meaning, its feeling, its impact on your present identity. You are not bound by memory. You are not shackled to yesterday's events. You are the I am, and all time yields to your assumption. Consider a man who, haunted by a moment of rejection, finds himself replaying the scene each day. The memory wounds him anew, reinforcing the belief that he is unwanted. But the law, being absolute, offers him a way of release. In the silence, he revises the scene. He imagines the moment as he wished it to be, loved, accepted, chosen. He feels in vivid detail the warmth of acceptance. He does not argue with the past. He overwrites it. Gradually, the feeling of rejection fades, replaced by a new sense of worthiness. The world, obedient to this revised assumption, begins to reflect new patterns. Invitations appear, relationships heal, favor increases. The law did not change. He changed his stance. Revision is the daily practice of sovereignty. You are not a prisoner of your story. You are its author. When a scene troubles you, do not rehearse it in defeat. Revise it in victory. Assume the feeling you wish had been true and persist in it until the world responds. The past is not a weight to carry, but a tool to wield. You do not react to memory, you command it. The inner mechanics are simple. When you revise, you change your state, and the world, being a mirror, must conform to your new identity. This is not the work of force, but of faith. You do not strive to undo the past. You simply be the one who was never wounded, never rejected, never defeated. You are not seeking to prove your worth. You are radiating it. The world cannot help but reflect what you assume. It must echo your state. It must yield to your being. Let each day be an opportunity for revision. When the world presents a scene that contradicts your desire, do not react in fear. Retreat inward. Revise the scene. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist. The law is always working. The only question is, are you revising deliberately or rehearsing defeat? The power is in your being, not in your doing. The world is not your judge, it is your mirror. Assume your true identity and let the world reveal your reflection. Let us enter now the sacred practice of SATS, the state akin to sleep. This is the doorway to the creative subconscious, the silent chamber where assumption becomes reality. In the twilight between waking and sleep, the mind is most receptive, most fertile. In this state, you do not strive, you surrender. You do not chase, you receive. You do not plead, you command by being. In SATS, the world of appearances fades. The senses grow quiet. You are left alone with your imagination, the divine faculty by which all things come to be. Here you plant the seed, not by effort, but by feeling. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as a distant hope, but as a present fact. You see, taste, touch, and hear the reality as though it were already so. The body relaxes, the mind softens, and the assumption takes root in the deep soil of your being. Consider the woman who, longing for reconciliation, would enter SATS each night. In the silence, she felt the embrace, heard the words of forgiveness, tasted the sweetness of reunion. She did not plead with the outer, she assumed within. Night after night, she returned to the scene, not as a performance, but as a fact. In time, the outer world, unable to resist the sustained inner state, yielded. The call came, the reunion occurred, the relationship was restored. The law had not changed. She had assumed a new identity in the silence, and the world conformed. SATS is not the work of will, but of surrender. You do not strive to imagine. You allow yourself to be imagined. You become the one who has, not the one who hopes. You do not chase after fulfillment. You embody it. The world, obedient to your inner state, echoes your assumption. The interval between assumption and manifestation is bridged by faith, by persistence, by being. Let your nightly practice be this. Enter the silence. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Dwell in the end, not as a rehearsal, but as a fact. Let the body relax, let the mind soften, let the assumption take root. You are not performing for the world. You are embodying for yourself. The law is always working. The only question is, what are you assuming in the silence? Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Now let us contemplate the supreme faculty, imagination. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the creative power of the I am. All that you see, all that you touch, all that you experience is but the shadow of imagined states. The world is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive, obedient to the images you persistently hold within. Imagination creates reality, not as a metaphor, but as law. You do not wait for the world to give you permission to be. You imagine yourself as you wish to be, and the world in time reflects your assumption. The outer is always the echo. The inner is always the cause. You are not a performer on the stage of life, but the playwright, the director, the actor, and the audience. You do not react to the script, you revise it. You do not chase the scene, you embody the state. Consider the story of the man who, longing for promotion, ceased to plead with circumstance and began to imagine himself in the new role. Each day, in the quiet of his mind, he wore the identity of the promoted one. He felt the weight of responsibility, the joy of recognition, the satisfaction of achievement. He did not chase after the outcome. He became the outcome. The world, compelled by the law, rearranged itself. The promotion came. The law had not changed. His assumption had. Imagination is the workshop of reality. You do not need proof to imagine. You need only faith. You do not wait for evidence. You create it by sustained assumption. The world is not your master. It is your mirror. It reflects with unerring accuracy the dominant tone of your being. Let your imagination be the sanctuary of your fulfillment. In the silence, create the scene as you wish it to be. Dwell in the end. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist. The law is always working. The only question is, what are you imagining now? Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us examine now the subtle art of being overdoing. The world in its clamor exalts effort, struggle, and performance. But the law does not reward effort, it responds to being. You do not become by striving, you reveal by assuming. The outer world is not moved by your actions, but by your state. You are not a performer, you are the source. The one who seeks is forever outside the gate. The one who is stands within. It is not seeking, but radiating. Not lack, but fullness. Not doubt, but faith. You do not chase after what you are. You attract what you assume. The world is drawn to the radiance of your being, not the noise of your doing. Consider the parable of the seed. The seed does not strive to become the tree, it simply is. The fullness is contained within the husk. When the conditions are right, when the assumption is sustained, the tree appears. The tree is not the result of effort, but of being. You are the seed and the soil. The world is the harvest of your sustained identity. Let your focus shift from action to assumption, from performance to embodiment, from striving to being. When you dwell in the end, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you become the magnet, the center, the cause. The world must rearrange itself. Circumstances are not to be chased, but to be received. The law is always working. The only question is, are you being or are you doing? Let your inner dialogue affirm your identity. I am. I am the one who has. I am the fulfillment. I am the radiance. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us move now into the living rhythm of affirmation. Affirmation is not a ritual of words, but a declaration of being. When you affirm, you do not plead with the world. You announce to yourself and to all creation the truth of your identity. You are not rehearsing a possibility. You are declaring a fact. You are not seeking evidence. You are generating it. The power of affirmation lies not in repetition alone, but in the feeling it evokes. When you say, "I am," you activate the creative principle. You become the thing declared. The world, being the mirror, must reflect your affirmation. It cannot resist. It cannot delay. It must yield. Consider the woman who, each morning, stood before the mirror and declared, "I am loved. I am worthy. I am fulfilled." At first, the words felt hollow, the echo of old doubt, but she persisted, not as a performance, but as a stance. She allowed the feeling to grow. She embodied the truth before the world could confirm it. In time, the world, obedient to the law, reflected her affirmation. Relationships blossomed, opportunities appeared, fulfillment increased. The law had not changed. Her assumption had. Let your affirmations be the fragrance of your being. Do not plead, declare. Do not hope, know. Do not chase, embody. The world is not your adversary, it is your mirror. It reflects without fail the dominant tone of your being. Let your affirmation be the song of your identity. I am. I am the fulfillment. I am the finished work. I am the radiance. Let us deepen now into the understanding of identity over effort. The world rewards performance, but the law responds to being. You do not achieve by striving, you reveal by assuming. The world is not moved by your labor, but by your stance. You are not a laborer in the field of life, you are the Lord of the harvest. Consider the man who, weary from years of effort, ceased to chase after success and began to embody the identity of one who could not fail. He did not force outcomes. He assumed success as his nature. The world, slow at first, began to yield. Opportunities appeared, obstacles dissolved, results materialized. The law had not changed. His identity had. The world, ever the mirror, reflected his sustained assumption. You are not the sum of your actions. You are the source of your reality. The outer is always the effect, the inner always the cause. When you assume the identity of the fulfilled, the world must yield. Circumstances, people, events, all reorganize around your stance. It is not proof that creates knowing. It is knowing that creates proof. You do not wait for the world to confirm your identity. You declare it, and the world responds. Let your focus be on being, not doing. On identity, not performance. On assumption, not striving. The law is always working. The only question is, who are you being now? Let your identity shape your world. Let your being precede your doing. Let us now explore the silent revolution that occurs in consciousness when you persist in assumption. The shift is not always dramatic. It is often gentle, subtle, a softening of the inner dialogue. Where once you rehearsed failure, now you affirm success. Where once you anticipated disappointment, now you anticipate fulfillment. The reaction to outer events weakens. The stance of certainty strengthens. The world, sensing the change, begins to rearrange itself. Consider the parable of the two houses, one built on sand, the other on rock. The house on sand is the life built on reaction, on the shifting winds of appearance. The house on rock is the life built on assumption, on the unshakable foundation of being. When the storms come, the house on rock stands. The world may tremble, but the one who abides in the end is unmoved. It is not the outer that sustains you, it is your inner stance. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the master of assumption. The world is your canvas. Each day you paint with the colors of your inner state. Persist in the assumption of fulfillment, and the world, slow but certain, must yield. It cannot help but echo your sustained identity. The law is always working. The only question is, are you persisting or are you wavering? Let your inner dialogue be unwavering. Let your stance be unshakable. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us turn now to the interplay of faith and doubt. Faith is not blind belief, it is the certainty of being. Doubt is not a lack of evidence, it is the assumption of lack. The one who doubts is forever outside the gate, seeking proof. The one who has faith is within, radiating fulfillment. The law does not reward faith, it responds to it. The world does not wait for your certainty, it reflects it. Consider the story of the woman who, plagued by doubt, could not see her desire fulfilled. She rehearsed disappointment, anticipated failure, lived in reaction, yet in a moment of deep surrender, she chose to assume fulfillment. She declared, "I am the one who has." She persisted not in struggle, but in being. Gradually the world, obedient to the law, yielded. The fulfillment appeared. The law had not changed. Her assumption had. You are not waiting for proof. You are the proof. You are not seeking evidence. You are generating it. The world is not the source of your faith. It is the echo. Let your faith be the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us consider now the rhythm of persistence. Persistence is not stubbornness. It is the gentle, unwavering return to the assumption of fulfillment. The world may resist, appearances may contradict, but the law does not waver. The sustained assumption, when held with faith, must become reality. The outer is the shadow, the inner is the light. Consider the man who, facing repeated setbacks, chose not to react but to persist. Each day he returned to the assumption of success. He rehearsed the feeling, affirmed the fulfillment, embodied the end. The world, slow at first, began to yield. Results appeared, obstacles dissolved, fulfillment increased. The law had not changed. His persistence had. You are not defeated by delay. You are the author of time. The interval between assumption and manifestation is bridged by persistence. Do you remain in the end, or do you waver? The world cannot resist the pull of your sustained identity. It must conform. It must echo. It must rearrange itself around your stance. Let your persistence be gentle but unwavering. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us dwell now in the atmosphere of gratitude. Gratitude is not the result of fulfillment. It is the cause. When you are grateful, you affirm possession. You do not chase after fulfillment. You radiate it. The world, sensing your fullness, brings more to match. It is not lack, but fullness. Not seeking, but radiating. Consider the woman who for years longed for abundance. She pleaded, she chased, she struggled, yet the world remained silent. In a moment of clarity, she chose gratitude. She affirmed, "I am grateful, I am full, I am abundance." She ceased to chase and began to radiate. The world, obedient to the law, yielded. Opportunities appeared, resources multiplied, fulfillment increased. The law had not changed, her assumption had. You are not waiting for the world to give. You are the giver. You are not lacking, you are full. The world is not your source, it is your mirror. Let your gratitude be the fragrance of your being. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us now contemplate the nature of surrender. Surrender is not defeat. It is the highest form of power. When you surrender, you cease to strive. You allow the law to work. You do not chase after fulfillment. You trust its arrival. The world, sensing your certainty, yields. It is not striving, but being. Not chasing, but attracting. Not reaction, but stance. Consider the man who, weary from struggle, surrendered his desire. He affirmed, "I am fulfilled." He ceased to chase, ceased to plead, ceased to strive. He allowed the feeling of fulfillment to saturate his being. The world, slow at first, began to yield. Results appeared, fulfillment increased, peace blossomed. The law had not changed. His stance had. You are not defeated by surrender. You are empowered. The world is not your master. It is your mirror. Let your surrender be the highest affirmation of your being. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us consider now the art of detachment. Detachment is not indifference, it is mastery. When you are detached, you are not moved by appearances. You do not react to delay, to contradiction, to resistance. You remain anchored in your assumption. The world, sensing your certainty, yields. It is not proof that creates knowing, it is knowing that creates proof. Consider the woman who, longing for healing, ceased to chase after signs. She anchored herself in the assumption of wholeness. She did not react to symptoms, she affirmed fulfillment. In time, the world, obedient to the law, yielded, healing appeared, strength increased, fulfillment blossomed. The law had not changed, her assumption had. You are not the victim of delay. You are the source of reality. The world is not your adversary, it is your mirror. Let your detachment be the anchor of your being. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us contemplate now the mystery of fulfillment. Fulfillment is not the result of achievement, it is the expression of identity. When you are fulfilled, you radiate wholeness. The world, sensing your fullness, brings more to match. It is not lack, but fullness. Not seeking, but radiating. Consider the man who, longing for love, ceased to chase after affection. He affirmed, I am loved, I am love. He embodied the feeling, sustained the assumption, radiated the truth. The world, obedient to the law, yielded. Relationships blossomed, fulfillment increased, joy expanded. The law had not changed. His assumption had. You are not waiting for the world to provide. You are the provider. You are not lacking. You are full. The world is not your source. It is your mirror. Let your fulfillment be the expression of your being. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Let us enter now the sanctuary of silence. In silence, the world recedes. The noise fades. You are left alone with your being. Here, the law is most potent. Here, assumption becomes reality. In the silence, you do not plead, you declare, you do not chase, you embody, you do not hope, you know. Consider the woman who, each morning, sat in silence. She affirmed her fulfillment, embodied her desire, radiated her identity. The world, obedient to the law, yielded. Fulfillment appeared, peace blossomed, joy expanded. The law had not changed, her assumption had. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the master of assumption. The world is not your adversary, it is your mirror. Let your silence be the sanctuary of your being. Let your being precede your doing. Let your identity shape your world. Test the law. Assume your fulfillment. Persist in your stance. Remain faithful to the end. The world must yield. The law is always working. The only question is, who are you being now?